All right, so somebody asked about how to just make an opening. So basically what I'm gonna do is, I've already centered this clay. This is 2 pounds of clay for anyone wondering. And I'm gonna open for a cylinder because we do already have a video out there on how to open for a bowl. So the first thing that I do is I make sure that my clay is at least the width of how wide I want to open to. So if I need a really wide base, I would need to widen my mound of clay before I start opening. But I'm just going to open as if I'm just making a narrower cylinder. So I'm going to take my middle finger on my right hand. This is how I open. And right now I'm just barely touching it, and I'm traveling in until that clay is sort of spinning under my finger and not sort of touching a different part of the clay. Like you can tell when you just reach that point where it's just, you're in the same spot as it's spinning. I don't know if that makes sense. Because I'm kind of dividing this in half in my brain, and I don't want to go on the half farthest away from me, because then it's going to get off center. So if you want to figure out what that is, let me push down, and do you see where this little thing here is? If I go right where that is, that's the exact center, and I can just sort of go deeper and deeper. You will notice I'm pushing from this part of my finger all the way up to here. You can see that clay displacing and pushing away. And what that does is it creates a nice V shape, and that helps me stay on center. Sometimes things get off center when people are just at the opening stage. And what I find is if it starts to get a wobble in it, I can come back up here and start that process again. And then it'll be back on center again. It sort of gives you a do-over opportunity. Whereas if your hand is lifted like this and it starts wobbling, pretty tricky to get that back on center. All right, so now I've established the depth of my pot, and now I want to establish the width of my opening. So what I do here is I take my fingers, and I'm still in the middle and I'm bending them. Then I'm going to pull back towards my body at 6. If this is a clock, this is 6 o'clock. I'm going to pull back towards my body. And I'm trying not to go deeper as I'm going out. If you tend to be somebody who accidentally goes deeper, then just don't go quite as deep with your initial opening, and then you can just take and smooth out the base. Pushing through my sponge. Notice I squeezed all the water out of it. And I'm going to give a nice compression. And then if I'm going to make a bowl, I would just begin pulling. If I'm going to make a cylinder, I would take the heels of my hands and push in just from like here to here. This part stays put. And now that's ready to start pulling.